I want to thank Carola, Olson, CEO and founder of Multilingual Promise, and Ilyssa Foxx, Chief of Operations. This session, they're going to be highlighting how AI can support early childhood educators in real, practical ways. You'll see how feedback on classroom interactions can help build language development. It's a great example of AI supporting human-centered work. Welcome, both of you. I'm bringing you onto the stage now. You are good to go. You are. Oh, yep.
Can you hear us now?
There we go. Yep.
Oh, great. Good. Well, thank you, Mike, and Calista. If she's not here, please let her know, and the entire team for having us here today. I'm Carola, the founder of Multilingual Promise, and Ilyssa, Chief Operations Officer, and she has multiple hats that she wears, including the app development, research, and lots of community work. So a little bit about us. Multilingual Promise is an early childhood teacher preparation ed tech company. And what we do is we focus on the teaching of children in the first 5 years of life. These are the most critical years where children are building the foundation of language, reading, math, science, and think about everything else that comes after. But the teachers specifically that we work with are the teachers who are in classrooms where many of the children are learning English as a second language. And most of these children are Latino and come from low-income families. But here's the thing. The stakes in these early years are higher than most people imagine or are aware of. Because this is the time where a child builds, before kindergarten, everything that shapes learning in school and for the rest of their lives. And while this may seem outrageous, it's not an opinion. We agree with it, but it's all based on neuroscience. So what we're doing is we're using AI to build teachers' confidence and skill to teach multilingual children, doing it well, effectively. And we're doing it through two solutions that we offer. One is self-paced courses with AI simulations. And then the other one is we're developing STELAR Coach app, which is real-time coaching through audio. And it's what we're going to share with you today. So take a moment here to meet Maria and Tomas. They're 3 and 4 years old. They're growing up in a Spanish-speaking home. And here's what we know about them and about every child. That before age 5, 90% of their foundational brain, the development of the foundational brain has already taken shape. And again, this is not an exaggeration. Like I said earlier, it's all based on neuroscience. So there's a lot of learning and development happening in those 5 years of life. And the neural pathways for language, vocabulary, sentence structure, the individual sounds of languages, think about following the ability to follow a story, how to reason for a problem, to understand what's happening in a story or in a conversation. All of that is being built at that time, just like for Maria and Tomas that you see here. So look at these numbers because they're striking. So 1 in 3 children under 5 in the United States is growing up with more than one language. In California, it's 60%. And that's not a small number, right? It's the majority of the children in the state. What these numbers tell us also is that most early childhood teachers today have multilingual learners in their classrooms. Now, yes, these numbers might be surprising, But the number that is alarming is the other one, right? It's that by fourth grade, only 1 in 10 students who are English learners read at grade level. That means 1 in 10. That's the lowest reading proficiency of any major group of students in the United States. So in thinking about what the problem is and why we are here is knowing that that doesn't start in third or fourth grade. It's not that they cannot learn. It's that the foundations of reading are built in the first 5 years of life, just like Maria and Tomas, who we met in the other slide. And these foundations are built through language. How a teacher uses language strategically to teach, right? When the children are sorting blocks or reading a story and teaching about how letters form words or the sounds that words, individual sounds of that are part of words and how to predict things. I mean, there's so much that happens, but if a child cannot follow the words because the child doesn't know English yet, she cannot join the thinking. And thinking about the children we just saw, the urgency is really is specific and critical for us to address because we cannot wait. They cannot wait until they're English proficient to be able to continue learning. So here's what often gets missed out about children like Maria and Tomas, and it's the fact that growing up with 2 or more languages is setting them up for a lifetime of advantages. It does not confuse them. It does not delay their learning. It's the opposite. Neuroscience continues to show that a brain developing in 2 or more languages at once has exceptional capacities. You have sharper attention, faster problem solving, delay of mental diseases, and quicker learning. There's also when a child is developing a robust foundation in the home language, let's say Spanish, it does not compete with English. It does the opposite, right? It accelerates the learning of English. So this is an extraordinary brain architecture that is real, can be real for many of the children that we are trying to get to and enhance their lives and make sure that they succeed in life and in school. So the other point that's important is that it's beyond the classroom, right? We're in a global economy, and multilingualism is a strategic asset for not just the children, for the families, for the country. And there's evidence that multilingual workers earn more, they advance further, and that the demand for bilingual professionals has quadrupled in the last decade. So this is a social and economic advantage for all of us. Let's think of Andres here. He is 4 years old in a classroom where the teacher is speaking English, but he doesn't understand English yet. He cannot answer the questions. He cannot join the activity. He cannot learn what the teacher is teaching to compare, match, sort objects, follow a story. So if he can't participate, he cannot build knowledge. He cannot continue building from all the skills, knowledge, abilities that he has been developing in his home language. And at the same time, he's not developing fluency in English as fast as he needs with what, we know how important, how critical that is for school and in life in the United States. So now we turn to the teaching itself. that connects us more with the app, right? Teaching is a profession that requires unique competencies like landscape design, architecture, plumbing, engineering, nursing. It requires specialized training. And for teachers of multilingual children, that training must cover effective teaching for children who in the same group are monolingual and multilingual. And the strategies for each are not the same. And we know that these teachers carry enormous responsibility because imagine the children are spending most of their hours, daily hours, in these learning programs. So, what teachers say and do throughout the day fully shapes what children learn and how they develop, who they become. In every classroom, is one of a kind. So, children like Andres and Maria and Tomas are not the same child. Then the languages in the classroom might be 2, 3, or 5, all different languages. What do the teachers do in that case? Also, the levels of English for each child must be very different. Some may understand and not know a word, others can produce some. And then lastly, it's the language background of the teacher. Because sometimes it might be a classroom where the children speak Spanish and are learning English and the teacher is bilingual in those languages. But not the case in many other classrooms, or there are 5 other languages. Ilyssa, I'll pass it to you.
Yeah. So there are distinct differences between training and coaching. We know this, both are valuable and both are most effective when they work together. So in a training, educators learn the research, they learn strategies, they take notes, maybe they earn a certificate. And then they return to their classrooms, to Maria, to Tomas, to 16 other children with 6 different home languages. And the real questions begin then. I know what the research says, but how does it actually work here with these children in this moment? And that question doesn't get answered in a training. It can't, because training is the same for everyone, but classrooms are different for every teacher. And that's where we're bringing in STELAR Coach. STELAR doesn't replace training, it extends it into practice. It listens to audio of real classroom interactions, a read aloud, an explicit small group language lesson, and provides specific, personalized feedback aligned to research-based language practices. So this is the difference between knowing the science and applying it in real time. So what you're looking at here is the STELAR Coach login page. And as Carola talked about, we built this because the teachers want to do the right thing for their students, but they don't always have access to ongoing individualized coaching. It's expensive, it's limited, and it's often unavailable. And we know from decades of research, training alone doesn't change practice, but adding in coaching does. And so we asked, what if coaching could happen anytime, directly within a teacher's own classroom? And one important point we want to make about STELAR Coach is it's not meant to be evaluative, it's not punitive. This is about support and reflection and growth, grounded in a teacher's own classroom environment. So at its core, STELAR Coach is built around something simple but incredibly powerful, and that's conversations. For young children, especially multilingual learners, language develops through back and forth interactions with adults. So that's what STELAR focuses on, the quality of those interactions. So here's how it works. A teacher records a short language-focused moment, at least 10 minutes, during a real classroom language or literacy lesson. The audio is securely analyzed across any language, no matter what language the teacher is speaking, the child speaking, and the teacher receives immediate strengths-based coaching feedback, both in the app and through an email. There are no extra observations, there's no additional workload. We're simply using what's already happening and turning it into a meaningful coaching opportunity. So what makes STELAR powerful? is not just that it uses AI, but how it translates data into something that teachers can actually use. So the app analyzes classroom talk using research-based indicators across key domains like vocabulary development, comprehension, language production, and use of home language. And these are the practices that build language, the foundation for all later learning. And the feedback is intentionally simple and actionable, and it comes in 3 parts. First, my stellar moments. We start with what's working. Teachers see specific examples of effective practices they've used in their instruction. This builds their confidence and reinforces strong practice. Second, we share my missed moments. We highlight opportunities, moments where language could have been extended, not as criticism, but as clear, strengths-based moments for growth. And third, we have my action plan. Most importantly, teachers receive 1 or 2 concrete next steps that they can try immediately. And this is what effective coaching looks like. It's specific, it's strengths-based, it's actionable. There's no score, there's no ranking, there's no comparison to others. And over time, teachers improve not because they were told what to do, but because their own classroom interactions were made visible and paired with one clear next move. And that's what's really going to drive change for children. So let's take a quick look at the teacher experience on STELAR Coach. On the left, you see the home screen. Teacher taps record, answers a few quick prompts about the activity they're about to do, and begins. That's it. It's no complicated setup, no scripting, just really getting in and capturing that audio. On the right, you see a sample feedback screen. Within minutes of uploading their audio, the teacher receives a summary of the interaction, examples of strengths and opportunities, suggested next steps. They can also review a transcript of their audio and explore key metrics like turn taking, question types, talk time, language use. And this is where AI becomes meaningful, not just analyzing, but guiding reflection in context. So we're not trying to replace coaches, we're just extending their reach, making coaching more accessible to the educators who need it most. This is a sample of the teacher dashboard. Teachers can track their use of key language practices, the balance between teacher and child talk, how multiple languages are being used in the classroom. They can compare sessions, view progress over time, generate reports, and this turns everyday teaching into visible, measurable growth. And for many educators, this is really the first time that they've been able to see their own interaction patterns this clearly. There's also an administrator view. Program leaders can look across classrooms, identify trends, and make more informed decisions about professional development and coaching support for their staff. Because when we support teachers at scale, we strengthen the entire program and not just individual classrooms. So to sum it all up before we take questions, if we want better outcomes for multilingual learners, we have to start with better support for teachers. And that has to be ongoing, personalized, grounded in real practice. And STELAR Coach makes that possible by turning everyday classroom moments into opportunities for reflection, growth, and stronger relationships. We know language doesn't develop through worksheets. It really does develop through conversations. And we're excited to help teachers make every conversation count. So that's about us.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Ilyssa. I'm going to add Carola back to this stage and unmute you. If you have any questions, please go ahead and put them in the comments. How long ago have you guys started this project, and how long has it been available?
So we're developing it. We're starting the pilot, testing the beta, and we started a year ago. We started with first building the courses, the modules online, and we realized that we really wanted the evidence, the practice, and the feedback in the classrooms. And having been a professor in early childhood in higher ed, it's so hard, and in teacher preparation, we're in service and pre-service. So when there are teachers and they need professional development, and the main issue is never knowing how effective that preparation was in transforming their practice. And then seeing, as a coach, going in and seeing how hard it was. So when we were creating these courses, we realized we need something that helps link and augment what they're learning in the modules, how they can work together so that it speaks to each individual teacher in their own setting with their own children. So then it started after, but it's been a year, so very early in the process. A lot has happened, and the tools have just we've been learning from Ilyssa, finding and all these resources that maybe 2 months ago or 4 months ago didn't exist. We can't hear you, Mike.
Oh, there we go. How's that? Very cool. That's incredible. Thank you for letting me know that. We do have a question from Matthew, who says, does STELAR allow for assessments? If I need to test a student's reading, can I pair it with the assessment I may be using?
As it stands right now, STELAR is really meant to be a support for the teacher and for their own professional development, as opposed to, using it as a tool to test the student in particular. But we're building. So it's good to hear the questions and potential future use cases that might be applicable or needed, out in the field. But really right now we're trying to build teacher skills in a really important moment where, 60% of the population's kids are dual language learners or non-English speakers at home. So we're really trying to build up the workforce and build their skill sets right now.
That's incredible.
And at this age, they're not reading, right? They're building critical skills that lead to, that build that foundation so that they can learn to read. Language is developed naturally, reading is not, right? And those skills are something that through the experiences mediated by adults are developed. But we would never expect to assess a child during this age. We can eventually be able to bring in how well the child is learning the content or how effective we are in supporting their English language development, so that we know for a fact that the training, the training of the teachers, the support, the coaching is resulting in children's language and other skills, content knowledge, etc. Right now, we rely in the field with observation, performance assessment. So it will be great to have something with AI, an app that can actually evaluate the language skills of the children together.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very cool. What would you guys say you're most excited for with the advancements in AI? Are there any things that you guys are starting to play with that you're excited to see that might help in the process as you guys are building this tool?
I think the tools are accessible. AI is not our background, right? This is not where we've lived, either in education or nonprofit or different spaces that we've entered. So for us to be able to develop our own tools the way we want to develop them makes them economically better, fiscally better, but also gives us more control using our expertise and our knowledge and where we see the gaps in the field and figuring out how to plug them with useful tools. So I think, for me, that's been a really exciting thing, is to be able to build stuff ourselves in the way that we want to.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's pretty awesome how now people who have no coding background can now begin to develop and build out applications just by talking with or chatting and writing to an LLM. It's pretty awesome. That's very cool. We did have another question from Matthew, but he thinks it might be outside of STELAR's application, because I think your focus is primarily for the professor. But he asks, has there been thought given to applying it to nonverbal children who may be multilingual? is it also possible to apply this to multilingual deaf students who are not oral, who struggle to develop language? He's just wondering if that's could be something down the pathway. So
that's a fabulous question. We in the preparation here, there's a lot on nonverbal children. Not yet using, producing, whether it's not confidence yet. A lot of children who are not speaking English yet use their home language, and some others go through a observant period. And there are strategies for all of this. There are strategies that are used in the moment for the children to be able to participate, engage, and learn at that time. But with deaf students, it's much harder because what we're doing is all based on audio.
Right.
So it is a big challenge, and we're just starting, like Ilyssa said, in trying to determine the capabilities of AI versus how we can train through the modules, right? We have the modules with AI simulations, and then that is a space where there's a lot of work to be, as we're developing and completing multilingual learners with special needs, developmental delays, and that's a very important part of teacher preparation.
Yeah, so we've had these conversations, and I think because of the age of the students, we're very this is why we do audio and not video, right? And so we've had conversations about including deaf students. How do we integrate ASL? How do we integrate infants and toddlers, right? Again, with limited verbal, focusing on utterances. So these are things we want to play with. So we're starting where we can start, but these are really important conversations and things we've tried to think about for the future. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, thank you very much for presenting. If someone wanted to get involved or to begin to test the product, would this multilingualpromise.com be the best place to go?
Yeah, we have a contact form that'll get sent on our website that you can reach us through.